That is not the job of the government to get involved in pushing this. The government's got enough to do without getting involved in religion, because when it does, it never ends well.
No. We're talking things over, as we always do at this time on a Monday, with Andrew Neil. We live in a Christian country, at least in the sense that our institutions still have Christian elements. It's an integral part of our history going back more than 1,000 years. So our culture's been formed with Christian values, if there are such a thing, in mind. But Reform UK says it wants to restore Britain's Christian heritage by preventing churches being converted into mosques. Andrew, I'm really interested in this because one of the phenomena, I think, of the last 2 years, it's always been there in America, but you see it more and more, I think, in the last couple of years. This idea that the right wing, particularly conservatives, they like to use Christianity as a banner beneath which to campaign for their rights and their wrongs. And it's become, Trump, he probably wouldn't know the Bible if it hit him on the nose, pretends to care about Christianity. For example, are Reform playing the American game in Britain, and will it work in Britain, do you think?
I think we are a little bit, and it has some dangers in it. There is a kind of ethno-Christian nationalism abroad in America that I wouldn't like to see coming to the United Kingdom. I think there is no question. We are a country of Christian heritage. Can be no question of that. Christianity was the dominant religion for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it has shaped us, our institutions, our attitudes, our values, into the country that we are. And that should be taught. No question. It's how can you understand the history of Britain and the country we are today unless you teach people about our Christian heritage? Whether we're still a Christian country in the sense of most people thinking that they are Christian and following the precepts of Christianity, I'm not so sure. I see opinion polls say that maybe a small majority now don't think of themselves that way.
That's right, yeah.
Though even those that don't still want to embody a lot of Christian values. I mean, I would include myself in that category. I mean, I was brought up as a Presbyterian, and although I'm not a practicing Christian, I still retain a lot of the values that my Presbyterian upbringing gave me, a lot of my outlook in life, and so on. And I think a lot of people have that. Whether it's the job of the government to push this, though, I'm deeply suspicious of. I mean, I'm against having bishops in the House of Lords. I'm very American or French on these matters of separation of church and state. Let us not forget that despite our Christian heritage, for hundreds of years, the Christians themselves argued among what Christianity meant. Yeah. You know, we had huge arguments. We had people being burnt at the stake. We had discrimination. You couldn't go to Oxford and Cambridge for hundreds of years if you weren't Anglican. It's one reason why the British Enlightenment took place in the universities of Edinburgh and Glasgow, because you could go there. It's the reason why the University of London was founded in the earlier 19th century for non-conformists and so on. So, and the reason why, and part of the reason why it became so important in America is that a lot of Christians had gone to America because their particular type of Christianity was being discriminated against back in the old country. So I think we have to be careful here. My view is that Britain is not necessarily a Christian country now, but it is a country in which Christianity can flourish if that's what the Christians want. And of course, it's been constantly let down by the Anglican Church, the established church, which is whose links to Christianity and God and Jesus are pretty tenuous these days. Whereas other Christian faiths, Catholicism, I'm told, has done well because doing well, the Baptists, evangelicals, there's plenty there. But that's the job for Christians themselves to determine what they want to be and the power it should have. That is not the job of the government to get involved in pushing this. The government's got enough to do without getting involved in religion, because when it does, it never ends well.
No, just finally, Angela, I'm also whether Christianity is a kind of metaphor here, a sort of rose-tinted glasses metaphor for a time that was pre-mass immigration. So we talk about our Christian heritage. Well, actually, we mean it's a bit John Major and village greens and warm beer, and it's a place where the bobby's on the beat and all is well in the world. The summer lasts forever. And it's that sort of nostalgia that reform really wants to harness. The idea there was a happier moment in British heritage, and we can call it Christian, but really Christian is just a metaphor here.
Yeah, I think, nostalgia always sells, but we only remember from our school holidays the days when the sun shone.
Yeah.
we don't remember the days when it was pouring with rain and you couldn't get out to play. So yes, I think there is an element of that. But look, we're in the 21st century. No countries now, advanced democracies, have dominant religions. And we're a country in which all religions should be allowed to flourish and prosper as they see fit. Always with the caveat that what they stand for, what they do, what they promulgate doesn't interfere with the freedoms of the rest of us, or doesn't fly in the face of long-standing values and principles that our country holds dear. And I'm much more concerned, not about the fact that there are all sorts of other religions. There is an element in Britain, in the Muslim religion, of the most extreme preachers, preaching medieval values from whatever the equivalent of the pulpit is in the mosque, and getting away with it. And I think the majority of Muslims who don't go along with this, and the authorities themselves, should take a tighter grip on that. It is not something most British Muslims follow, but it is a nasty side part of the diversity of religion at the moment. I would rather we looked at that and left the Christians to sort out their own problems. They've been allowed around for long enough to be able to do that.
Andrew, shall we end with a no less sort of knotty topic, if you like? It's the question about what happened at the BAFTAs last night. In the BBC's own coverage, if you go online right now, you will be able to see the Tourette's activist John Davidson, Tourette's sufferer, involuntarily shouting out the N-word. It's when two black actors were presenting an award on stage. There was an apology given later by the host, but many who were there feel that the apology was badly delivered. It suggested that people should get an apology if they had been offended, and it happened quite a long time after the fact. There is a warning on iPlayer that the presentation may contain strong language, but the BBC so far has not edited the word out or bleeped it. Andrew, what do you think about this? Because our listeners this morning they stand in defence of John Davidson. They feel that he's being very unfairly treated over this.
Well, the first thing I would say is that I've seen the film, and it's a wonderful film. I mean, at the moment, I've looked at some of the Oscar nominations, some of the BAFTA nominated. They really are a miserable bunch of movies that you want to slit your wrist before you get to the end. This isn't. This is a low-budget movie set in a Scottish town, which is beautifully acted, beautifully directed, a story beautifully told, and you learn a lot about Tourette's. And you come away inspired. You come aware of the difficulties and the issues. And I wouldn't want this particular incident to overshadow or overwhelm the achievement of this beautiful British film in bringing a really important issue to a much wider audience. It's a huge achievement, and I'm delighted that BAFTA gave it, I think, a couple of awards last night, including Best Actor, over all these big Hollywood superstars who are there as well. That said, and if you've seen the movie, you will understand it, these are involuntary outbursts. They're not meant, and it is in no way demeaning to the man himself to be able, it's Iris agreeing with me, there's no way demeaning to the man himself to bleep it out. No. And it should be bleeped out. I mean, the idea it's still on iPlayer, I found unbelievable. I cannot believe that is still the case. I don't know if the show itself last night was on a delay or not, but if it wasn't, well, what can you do? Though they must have known there was a risk of this happening. And I'm pretty sure, I say this on the basis of no knowledge, or having seen the kind of person he is, that he himself would probably want this bleeped out too. So the BBC ought to go on and do it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, and it's one that a lot of our listeners have made this morning, and our expert who we had on the programme to talk about Tourette's and Tourette's sufferers. I mean, I suppose, Andrew, it was on a delay, we understand. So there was an opportunity. And obviously the BBC's put this strong language warning on the iPlayer, so they must be aware of it. Is this an example of the BBC trying to manage a number of different factors, which is they wanted John Davidson to be there and be present. They don't want to deny him. They don't want to remove him. He left halfway through of his own volition, we understand. But they also clearly have a duty to protect those who would find that deeply offensive.
When he was going to get his medal from the Queen, he didn't want to go because he was frightened of what he'd shout out from the audience. So it's in the movie already. And so what happened at BAFTA is really a repeat of that, because he did shout out something in the Queen's presence. But the people there understood and made allowances for it. There seems to be some kind of view, and as my understanding is, it's not upheld by any of the people who either suffer from Tourette's or who are specialists in this field, that it would be somehow demeaning to him to bleep this out. It's not. It's not demeaning to him at all. It's not that he said it in the sense he meant to say it. Exactly. It's entirely involuntary. And I'm sure he would want it bleeped out. It's embarrassing for him, as the whole business is. And the only good thing that may come out of this, in my view, I'd say to both of you, is that if the controversy, and by the way, the BBC should definitely move quickly to cauterize this immediately, but if it encourages more people to watch this film, then that will be a major plus, because it's a wonderful film.
Andrew, that's a very humanistic note to end it on, and I think that's exactly right. Great to speak to you. Lovely chat today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Sorry about Iris. She's getting a bit barky at the moment. If you heard her, I'll just go and strangle her now.
Don't you dare. We'd like to see a picture of her, though, if you want to post her on X.
Oh, I will. I'll post a picture of little Iris.
Oh,
She's
bless her
the
heart.
love of my life. A little rescue dog that I got off the streets of Romania.
Oh, post a picture. We love to see her.
And you get a bit barky yourself, Andrew. So who's the criticise?
One in the family, I'm afraid.
Great stuff. That's actually great, Andrew and Neil. We love having him on a Monday. Shree makes a point I think is a really important one. It's not a question of offence. It's more than that. If you're a person of colour like me, it hurts inside to hear this word. I agree it should be bleeped or taken out. No one blames Mr. Davidson. No apology required. It's not a question of blame. I can't now watch that show. I just don't want to hear it and put myself in that place. I think that's a very difficult argument to meet. That's a very fair point by Shireen. And Bob says, if the guy's condition meant he involuntarily stripped naked, the BBC would have censored that to protect his dignity. So why not what he involuntarily said for exactly the same reason? Yeah. I think if it's not a speech act in the sense of a free speech, whether it's intentional, then I think all bets are off and you should do whatever is the right thing more broadly.
That's a very good point.